Ready?
Okay, so Marilyn, Josh sent this in the mail for Doug. Another Army.
Army pole.
Yeah.
Here, you can be the video person.
So, and then I have a little hammer. Get up here, Jonathan.
Oh, let's film the hammer.
This is for all the projects that I'd go to Lowe's for. When I go to Lowe's, Doug helped me with. So that's what that's for. And then I had this motorcycle, Marilyn, I dropped it, but I'll fix it. I had a little motorcycle. Every time Doug went on a motorcycle trip, let me see if I can fix it that way. He would say that I gave him a little urn with Mel's ashes in it, and he would tell me, Mel's riding on the front of the motorcycle with me. So I had a little urn bottle glued to right there. So the motorcycle with the urn. That's I'll have to fix. And that's all I have.
That's cute.
Well, I have this one that says cabin.
Aww.
Yeah, well, most of y'all are probably remember, but some of y'all are new. And so just explain this. Somewhere in 1956 or so, Mel at high school built a hydroplane, which is a little boat with a motor on the back. And Dad, probably saying before he was thinking, said, if you do well on this, oh, there it is, I'll buy you a motor. Well, he won like honorable mention or something, so he did well enough that I bought him a motor. And then we went to the lake, and the interesting thing about that is when you started the motor, you were going. There wasn't any neutral, there wasn't any reverse. But it cranked, you were going. And he about around Joyce 2 or 3 times out there, I think. But anyway, they got what we always called lake fever, and they bought a little lot down there for $750, I think it was.
Wow.
On Lake Sinclair, and it was a fairly new lake then because we're very old now and it's been a long time. But, the lake, and then they built the Jim Walters house that had inside. When you went inside the door, what you saw was 2x4s. Didn't have any walls. Well, it had 2x4 walls, but there was no electrical, there was no heat, there was no kitchen, there was no bathrooms, there was no nothing.
We were thinner then too, we could hide behind the 2x4.
That's exactly right. Somewhere along the way, a shower curtain got nailed to the 2x4s and all that. But anyway, that started us down a road that lasted 50-something years, I guess. And we had family reunions there, and Doug and Mel and I and Joyce and Wayne and Nita and Wes, everybody learned to ski, and you know, we had family reunions and we had all this stuff down there. So a lot of time spent with Doug diving in the water. Mel got to, I didn't know how lucky Doug and I were at the time, but we were, the lot was so wooded, you could literally stand 10 feet from the water and you couldn't even see the water. I mean, there were trees everywhere. So Mel got to use the axe because he was a little older, and Dad got to use the axe, and Doug and I got to drag the trees out across the road, which didn't seem like a really good job till I tried to use the axe a few times, and I realized that maybe dragging the trees wasn't such a bad job. All we wanted to do was get in the water. I mean, that's everything we wanted to do. Beezy and Charlie and Joyce and Wayne would come down there, and they had a blue boat with a Mercury motor, and we could hear them coming for 10 minutes before they ever arrived. And that metal boat, it was the loudest motor. I mean, you could hear them coming from way down the lake. So anyway, those are some great times that I never dreamed we would have, and we were able to teach our kids to ski and everything. It was just a wonderful experience. So we got one for the cabin, and this is for you, Doug. Love you, buddy. The ornament's bigger than the tree.
That's true.
Well, I got a motorcycle. Rebecca actually spotted it at the store, so this is ours. But I looked for, because he had his love of motorcycles, but I looked for a clown because I remember at Grandmama's house, you go down, it was a split level, if you went downstairs, I think it was the room on the right, his clown paintings were always hung in that room, but I couldn't find a clown. And then I also looked for...
Unless he was a clown.
Oh, well, there you go. Mary's giving me semblance of a clown. But I also looked for like a scroll because last year when Daniel was so sick and on the feeding tube for 5 weeks, Doug sat down and wrote Daniel a personal letter just about to encourage him and about continuing to fight to figure out what was wrong, and that the doctors would hopefully find out what treatment he needed and so forth. And then Doug also talked about his fight, the fight that he was in for his life. And it was just really special. It was 2 or 3 pages and it was handwritten. And I just thought for a man in particular to sit down and write a letter like that was really special. And it demonstrated how much he cared about us as a family, but also for Daniel. He understood some of what Daniel was going through because he was fighting for his life as well. So, well, not that Daniel was fighting. Well, you weren't fighting for your life. I didn't mean to say that, but we didn't know what was wrong. And we were just very grateful. And he also put a little gift in it for Daniel. So that's ours. We love y'all. We miss you, and Merry Christmas.
All right, that's it. Let's play.
Robert?
Joyce.
Somebody? Sorry. Joyce?
I think with all of y'all that knew Doug for any length of time, he was always one that just loved fun. He loved to do things that were just crazy. He was always up for whatever we wanted to do. But he just always made me laugh. He could tell a joke and then he would laugh at himself telling the joke. And it just made me happy. But one year we had a birthday party for Nanny. And we decided amongst ourselves that we would do skits that depicted things that either our parents did when they were little or we did when we were little. And as all y'all know, I got the one with cutting the doll's head off and using a bad word. But Doug evidently, when he was little, would get in his playpen and he would scoot himself all over the house. So in Doug's style of just doing whatever, he got a white beach towel and he made himself a diaper. And here's this 6'3", 6'4" person with nothing on but a beach towel diaper. And he comes out into an open pavilion with all of us and he gets in this fence thing we've done, just doing this. And I think we played some music for him to do that too. So that's just one of my fondest memories of Doug and seeing Nanny just laugh hilariously at him. So Ivan and I tried out our skills. And we made,
Y'all did good.
if I can get it out. The baby had blonde hair, but I used a red magic marker, so we got red.
That's perfect.
Cute. Oh gosh.
That's so cute.
Oh, that's cute.
I'll go real quick here. So, this is the camera. Okay.
Yep.
No, it's over here.
Well, I didn't know where the tree was either. I never got the pleasure to really hang out or spend time with Doug, so the one thing I thought about was mainly what was talked about at the funeral, and I think the main thing that stuck out to me was his relationship with his sons, and just how much they respected and cherished their relationship with their father. And that's not something you see very often, unfortunately, anymore. And so that's kind of my main memory of Doug without really having a personal memory with him. That I think that will impact me a lot, is just remembering their sharing at the funeral. And of course, I went with the generic, this is a Lego motorcycle wheel. Okay.
There's the truth.
Yeah, it doesn't really look very wheelie, but it's cool though. So I'm putting that on the tree here. All right.
No, I'm not ready yet. Go ahead. You're good. My movie.
Okay.
Come on down.
This is from you and your mama.
This is just for me. I don't know if Mom's working on her. Yeah, her
Yeah.
ability to.
Get up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna take me a while.
So this wasn't my first choice of ornaments. I tried to make one, and it was a disaster. So
You don't have the skill.
Like me.
I did not. I didn't get that at all. Over my fireplace is a painting that Doug made for my papa, and it's of my papa had these bulls, and so it was this bull that my granddaddy loved a lot. So Doug painted it for him, and I love having it over the fireplace because it's a bull, and it's got 4 legs, but then the bull part is very large, so on the back it talks about Papa's 5-legged bull. I just love having it there. It just makes me super happy.
I'm waiting to see what this
The 5th leg.
I was working on that. It was offensive. What I brought was something very, very different. So this is a cardinal ornament, and
Okay.
and
It's red.
That's ain't no bull, right?
So there is a link here. So when Dad passed away, I saw cardinals everywhere. They were just, it was just like we had just gotten this influx of cardinals. So and it brought me so much joy. And I noticed that Trent and Troy were talking about the cardinals when they were talking on Facebook. So it's just the joy that our dads brought to our lives, and how they show up in so many ways, just every day. And so that's the cardinal, and it's got 2 legs.
Two-legged dog.
Mark, you beat that.
I guess I'll go. You could have just used this for reference. I'm not sure the tree would hold it up.
It's a hard to follow.
Yeah, that's a hard one to follow. I don't have an ornament, I apologize, but I do have 2 stories. One of the stories, when I think about Doug, don't ask me why I always think about this, but it has to do with the lake house. And you probably would get in trouble these days, but as all of us boys would be swimming in the water, and he would be swimming in the water, we'd go to climb up the ladder to get back up on the dock. And he would sneak up behind us and he'd grab the back of our bathing suit and he'd pull it down. And then he'd start singing, "I see your hiney." Makes me giggle when it wiggles. If you don't hide it, I think I'll bite it. Then you won't have a hiney no more. And it had such an impression on me that I have passed it down to my children. So I have experienced that. And have you passed it down? I don't know if anybody else has. So anyways, his humor, Troy.
Don't feel bad. He used to do that to me.
Yeah, well. So that's one of my fun memories of Doug. But on a little bit more of a serious, when I think about Doug, as strange as it may be, what I think about is when we were with him in the hospital that night when he passed away. It's not often that you have the ones that you love right there with you. And so those that were able to be there, we were surrounded with him there in the hospital room. And many of our other family were there, via with everybody else. They weren't able to physically be there. But the room was filled, and we were all there together with him. And I know that meant a lot to him. And it meant a lot to me to see his family around him, loving him, praying for him, talking with him, holding his hand, crying together, singing, reading scripture, and those kinds of things. And those moments was something that I do treasure. And when I think about Doug, I think about his love and the love that he showed to his family And in that moment, it was evident because of his family's love for him while we were there with him in those last moments. So, Merry Christmas. We love you guys. And sorry to make that somewhat somber, but those are the things I think about when I think about Doug.
Fran. Matt.
She's become a really good delegator.
Yeah.
I'll delegate you next. Where are you going? I didn't know that Joyce was going to bring up Nanny's 90th birthday. Hers was a little more elaborate than mine was, but I do remember Doug in his diaper that day. Made a lasting impression on everybody. But, you know, we all remember Doug, as everybody said, loved his family, loved us. But he was always a jokester, always enjoyed having, making the humor out of all the situations, good and the sad. He would turn the sad into something something memorable. But we love Doug, we miss him, and we love you guys too. Merry Christmas.
Anybody else?
Fran!
Anita, I should say.
Oh, okay.
Anita.
Okay, well, Wes and I are the two youngest cousins. Doug was the youngest next to us, so he would play with us, and something invariably always happened. Not intentional, I'm sure, but something always happened. And so one time, he and Dan had been over helping my dad do some yard work, and when they finished, he decided he was going to pull us down the street in the wagon. And as he was pulling us, we're going down a little bit of a hill, and he said, well, I'm going to let go and let's see what happens. Well, what happens? You turn over and you get scraped up. So I got a little red wagon. Give me a break, Doug.
John can handle that.
Yeah, you get it.
Mom's gonna do
I think
it.
it's